Hold up, bad blood, there's about to be a massacre. So hold up, blood on the floor, blood on the speakers, fist pump, pump, pumping bad blood through the speakers. Bad blood, there's about to be a massacre. So hold up. Ever heard about the bad blood story? Took place in 1892. Father said a son to house they county, crossed the lines of a family feud.
So, Rum and Bones, Second Tide. What is it? Well, it's really the second edition. It feels more like a 1.5 of a game that came out very recently, Rum and Bones, where a few updates have been made to speed up the process. As a matter of fact, it can be the original Rum and Bones, and this game can be used together with an upgrade to account for some of the changes that were made between the two core sets. With this new rule set, players alternate actions. You go, I go, you go, I go, rather than moving all of the figures on one side and then all the figures on another, to cut down on the big advantage of going first. There's also upgradable, look over here, your characters can be upgraded as they go. They're gonna have a basic ability that's not hers, but just for example, and then as they go on, they'll get additional skills that you can buy with gold, and then you can upgrade those further. So the original game, everything was built into the card. Now they've done it separately so that you can have a more intuitive leveling up process. But the game is about pirates boarding each other's ships. It's Pirates of the Caribbean on the tabletop. The pirates board each other's ship and try to destroy the ship and each other, trying to get a piece of Davy Jones gold and treasure. So that's really what it's about. It's based on the MOBA style video game, and that comes across really clearly when dealing with the crew and how they behave. But it's all very, very simple. The rules read really quickly, and it is well, as I say, a beer and pretzels game that goes quick and doesn't require you're not going to burn your brain playing it. So if that's what you're looking for, this just may be the ticket, and we'll talk about it a bit more here. All right, let's talk about components for a minute. We'll start over here with the figures for the two factions that come in the core box. Here we have the Deep Lords faction. Think Pirates of the Caribbean, Davy Jones crew. There's 5 heroes in the box to choose from. Get a closer look at those. These would paint really, really well. I've heard people talk about just putting some shade onto these figures and they come out really well, but I haven't tried it. I prefer just to prime and paint, but I don't know, we'll see. Then we have the the Deep Lords crew. These are more fishmen than undead. We have bosuns with the circle bases, and all of the square bases are all deckhands. These are all exactly the same in play, but they actually went with 3 different molds for deckhands to put some variety onto the table. So when I play, I usually will mix them up a bit so they look like a mob rather than just a bunch of figures that all look the same. I think it's a real selling point for this game because it would have been really easy to just make, to press this same mold over and over and over, but they went with 3 to change it up a little bit. Simon does a great job with miniatures. That's not going to be a news to anyone. Over here we have the human pirate crew, deckhands, bosuns, and then the 5 heroes that come in the box. The other components are the standard that you would expect. Nice thickness on the cards. The boards are nice. The tokens are good thickness. Let's do a quick pan over. The board actually comes in 3 pieces, so it can be changed up a little bit. And as you have different crews, you could do different setups, so the game would play out differently with your features that can be attacked for points. And then over here we have the Kraken, the Sea Monster. I'll get back to the Sea Monster in a minute. All the tokens that come in the box, some extra base holders as your collection expands. The cards are all top quality, and of course the artwork is fantastic. One disappointment with this game at the $100 price point that comes to mind is the Sea Monster here. The Sea Monster is a creature that, using a special card, you can call onto the board to fight alongside your crew members. The problem with it is all you get is this token. You put it on the board and you play with it, just like it looks like one of these deck features, one of the ship features. That's a little disappointing when they're going to be fighting along figures of this caliber, and at the price point you think one more model, what is it really going to cost them? I'm not an expert on pricing board games, but at that price point it seems like that figure could have been added to sweeten the pot a bit, but that's a minor criticism. The components are top quality, no warping, no problems with anything, and the models that are in the box, which are substantial, there's a lot of them, look fantastic. All right, so on to gameplay. So gameplay is, man, it's simple, it's quick, and they did something different from the original game. In the first version of this, there was one side who would take all of their actions, all their heroes would go in their crew, and then the other side would go and do all of their stuff. With Second Tide, they decided to do something a little different. They had a you go, I go, you go, I go with activations. So each player will have 3 heroes. You'll pick 3 of these heroes, and plus your crew. That's just one of the differences from the original Rum and Bones, and it actually works really well. They were inspired by MOBA video games to make this, and obviously Pirates of the Caribbean, and it feels a little bit like a video game as you play it. You go back and forth really quickly, turns. If you're playing with someone who suffers from analysis paralysis and they're thinky, even then their turn is only going to take a minute or 2. The problem that comes up with that is the game itself is very random. The dice kind of determine a lot. This isn't a game you go into for a great tactical miniatures game. You go in to feel like you're a pirate swinging across the open waters and trying to destroy an enemy ship. And that's what it feels like. It's a boarding party. It plays quick. People go down. It almost feels like they have bonus lives the way it plays. That's not a good or a bad thing. It depends on what you're looking for. This is definitely what you would call an Ameritrash game. Strategy, at least with my playthroughs, have not been a huge piece of the puzzle. That may be a personal issue, but the dice have kind of decided, and you kind of just run in and crunch. That's how the game works. The rule book is, I've got it right here. The rule book is well written. There are minor points that are a little tough to understand, but the rules read really quickly and are pretty straightforward. But as with a lot of games, you'll come across little things here and there that you just have questions about. There is an FAQ provided on CMON's website. that answers some of the questions that are out there, but it's such a fast and energetic game that you feel like we can kind of just wing some of this and let the dice settle it for us. But on the back, like a lot of games are doing now, they have a quick summary of how the game works, and I won't go into all the details. You can find all this stuff online, but this is actually a really good summary. These rules don't leave a ton out, so if that tells you how the game works right there. So I would say it's pretty good in that respects. And let's talk a bit about the theme in the game. With an Ameritrash kind of random dice-based game like this one is, that's probably the most important thing. Do you feel like a pirate? Do you feel like you're playing that MOBA video game that they tried to get across? How are they communicating that in the game? And I have to say, with this game, the theme comes through perfectly. You feel like if you want to play Pirates of the Caribbean, this is what it is. And to kind of strengthen that a bit, there's some fluff in the core rules. There's a quick little story here: bait, switch, and bloody piracy. And then we go into quick little backstories on all of the different heroes you can pick for the different crews. So these are all of the Deep Lords, and then there's fluff for the human heroes. I'm not going to even take a chance at that name, but just little stories and quotes to really make the theme of the game come through. So I would give it a strong thumbs up in the realm of theme, and I love games with minis. It only helps to make you feel like you're there. So A+ in theme. So finally, how does the game come across? How do they do overall? How does the game work? How does it not work? So, Rum and Bones, Second Tide. The price point's about $100, which is pretty standard for a lot of games that are coming out of some of the high-end production out of like Fantasy Flight and CMON and Ninja Division. This one comes across really well, but it all depends on what you're looking for as a gamer. If you are a gamer who is looking for a tactical, thinky strategy game where you're going to outdo your opponent on the table, this is not the game. This game feels to me a lot like Gauntlet, the old video game, like the MOBAs that are being played now. You have quick turns with heroes that feel a bit invincible. They'll go down, but they come back. They'll keep coming back. And it just kind of sets you back point-wise when your heroes go down. So, if you're looking for that tactical, strategic game, this is not the game. But if you are looking for a game that feels fast, furious, don't be thrown off by the price tag and the huge production. In a lot of ways, this comes across a little bit like a gateway game. I've played it with my wife, who is not the biggest board gamer in the world, and she really enjoyed it. It's quick, it's easy to understand. You don't do a lot of management of, or really any management of resources besides the crack and track. So your turns are fast, the combat is deadly, and if you lose, you laugh and you come right back. So if that's the kind of game that you're looking for, the dice-driven, random, laugh, have a good time, quick game, probably about an hour, against some people who are thinking that same thing, great. If you're looking for that strategy game, look elsewhere.